As we all know, the world is ending, and surprisingly, it's been ending forever. So this is a interesting topic, and I want to get into it today because I was on vacation, like I said in the last video, for the Chinese New Year, the Spring Festival. And when I'm on vacation, I often read books. I have my Kindle, and I was actually into a book called The Psychology of Money. And it's a really interesting book, and one of the chapters was talking about optimism and pessimism and how we often listen to people that are pessimistic. So we often listen to the doomsdayers, the people that are saying the world is ending or you're about to lose a lot of money, because this book is specifically about money. And we often listen to the analyst that is saying that the stock market is about to crash, or the Chinese economy is about to crash, or the Russian economy is about to crash. And we often don't listen to the optimist who is saying, actually, if we look at the world, things are moving upward and to the right if we look at a graph. So I want to talk about that today because I find it really interesting, and I even find myself sometimes in my videos and just in general when I'm reading articles or when I'm watching the news, I sometimes tend to think the world is going to end. Right? There's also a lot of talk about war, or there is war, and we think, oh man, the world's falling apart. Look at Gaza, look at Ukraine, look at the possible war coming in Asia. And we get these ideas that the outlook on life is maybe bleak. And the book, which I found really interesting, and I'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out. It's called The Psychology of Money. The book was talking about, actually, we don't have a kind of big picture view of the world. And if we actually have a big picture view of the world, we will see that everything is actually kind of good. And when we pull out and we actually look at what's happened in the last 100 years, the last 200 years, or even the last 1,000 years, we see that the world has improved greatly. And so this video is kind of a, the world is ending, but not today type of video, because I think it's really important to remain optimistic and also to refocus ourselves sometimes, because when you get into the weeds or you get into the day-to-day of the news or the day-to-day of our lives, we can also oftentimes we look at it and we say, oh, I'm not doing that great, or things aren't doing that great in the world, or oh, we're entering a recession, right? Just talking to my dad, and he was saying, oh, look, the UK just entered a recession, and that is a little bit scary, right? Because on the day-to-day, our money might go up and down. Specifically for this book, our day-to-day, the money might go up and down. One day, you're up a little bit. The next day, you're down a little bit. I have some personal experience with that. I lost a lot of money a few years ago after it went up by a lot. I then went back down by a lot. It can be kind of overwhelming. And this video, I want to talk about how we should always pull out. That sounds inappropriate. We should always have a bigger picture. My immaturity is coming out. We should always have a bigger picture of what is happening in the world and kind of where we are. Yeah, we should have a bigger picture of the world. And your picture is, can I have some more tuna? And Jesus Christ, you don't need to be on me. All right, Ethel. I'm trying to make a serious video about the future. So one of the things the book was talking about is if we take a kind of a bigger look at the actual global economy and where it was 100 years ago or 200 years ago, and we actually look at how the GDP of these countries have grown, we'll see that the global economy is doing really well. Sure, we'll have a financial crisis every couple of years, but that's the cycle of things. And overall, we go up, we come down, we go up higher, we come down, we go up higher, and we come down. And overall, the trend is that the entire global economy is growing, which is improving everybody's lives. And so when we look at that from that standpoint, the world doesn't seem so scary. Another thing that the book was talking about, or just in general, when we look at technology and when we look at the conflicts that are happening in the world, we can see that the conflicts are becoming less frequent and less violent. And this has been documented for some time now. If we go back 200 years or farther, there used to be a lot of colonial powers constantly at war, and now the conflicts seem to be smaller and less frequent. Now, it doesn't mean that the conflicts aren't happening. It just means that the conflicts, again, we might have a big conflict and then some smaller ones and then a bigger one and some smaller ones. But as long as we're slowly trending downward, and we have been trending downward since World War II specifically, but even before that we were trending downward. And a lot of people will equate this to nuclear weapons and say, well, now that the superpowers can essentially destroy each other, we have less violent conflicts because the costs are much greater than they used to be. In the past you might lose a colony or something, but now if you could wipe out an entire nation with just a few nuclear weapons, then of course nobody's going to risk that. And as long as we have big players or big superpowers that are balancing each other, the conflicts can't become too great, which is actually pretty promising. And when we look at the data, we see it actually is going down over time. So whenever you come across news or you come across videos that are saying the world is ending and the end is here, it's all over, the economies are crashing, there's war, you have to pull out and look at the bigger picture and say, actually, no, the data is not supporting those people, those doomsdayers, those cat criers who are saying in the night everything is at an end. It's all coming to an end. Another thing that we need to look at is technology. About 200 years ago was the first camera. I think it was invented in 1825. So one of the first cameras that we had to take pictures of people was only invented 200 years ago. And now I can come to you from the comfort of my home by uploading a video that I've taken on my camera and upload this to YouTube where you can stream it anywhere in the world. And that's 200 years of progress. If we go back 100 years, we had the first automobiles. We had the first gasoline kind of, Model T were coming off the line in, the 1908 or something was when the first mass-produced car came out. And that's like 120 years ago. We think of commercial flight, right? I'm living in China. I had to get here somehow. So I flew a plane. And although I just did that trip a couple months ago from the United States and I just came back from Europe, and that trip was a 12-hour flight or more, I can do that because of technology. So again, up and to the right, when we look at how our lives are improving, we have to remember that human progression is up and to the right. Things have only gotten better. Because doing that trip 200 years ago from America to China would have been a months long or more journey by trains, by not even cars, but trains, by horse, by boat, and it would have taken me maybe a month to get around from the United States to China or from Europe to China. There was a famous book called Around the World in 80 Days, and it was about somebody around that time period, I can't remember the exact time period, trying to prove that he could get around the world in 80 days. I can get around the world now in about 12 hours, 15 hours, depending on depending on which direction I'm going and how it exactly goes. So that is real progress. And so whenever anybody gets on YouTube or people on the news or any stories that you're reading that is all doom and gloom, remember that we as a species, the human species, are actually progressing, and progressing at an alarming rate. If you've been on the internet recently, you've probably seen these new AI videos that are coming out basically this week, where it's showing, I think it's called Sora, where it's showing what AI video can produce now. You can type in, right, like a prompt, you can type in what you want the video to look like, and it will produce a high quality, high resolution video that is pretty good considering where we were a year ago. And that is the worst this technology will probably ever be. That's what everybody says. This is the worst the technology will ever be. And they're not wrong. So our future is actually bright. I'm one that kind of gets depressed, and I'm one that kind of, gets into the weeds of geopolitics and stuff. And sometimes you have to step back. And so this is me putting out a video saying, if you're feeling overwhelmed by whatever's happening, whether it's Russia or Gaza or potential conflicts here in Asia, Or if you're depressed about the economy because countries are going into recession and they're actually admitting it finally, remember that that's actually just a little tiny blip on the progress that we have seen in the last 100 years, the last 500 years, the last 1,000 years. And we as a species, we tend to overcome, and we tend to unite, and we tend to progress. So if you're feeling depressed or you're feeling down about money or conflict or anything else in your life, it's a good idea to step back and say, wait, where are we as a whole, and where am I as an individual? Is your life improving? This is turning into self-help now. Is your life improving? Well, if not, buy my course. No, this is just one of these things, a video that I'm putting out because I feel like it is easy for us to only look at the bad. And that's what the book was talking about, is that it's much easier for us to focus on the bad because we try to avoid risks. And the risk is maybe I'll lose all my money, or maybe my country will be invaded, or maybe my livelihood will change in a way that is not positive. And if somebody's saying that something bad is about to happen to me, I'm probably more likely to listen to him than the person that's saying, hey, life is actually pretty good, and things are going up and to the right, and we should be focused on that. Very interesting, because I feel like sometimes I get into the weeds. Also, if you're looking for a good book to read, The Psychology of Money, I'll put the link down below if you guys want to read it. I found it interesting. It's a bunch of little short stories about money and how people think about money. I found it interesting, and maybe you'll like it. So check it out. Also, thanks to the members. I will put you guys on the screen because that's really helpful, because it encourages me to make more videos, and it encourages me to think about how we can grow this channel. It's kind of just been going along, and maybe I need to actually think about it in a more strategic way. So thank you for being a member. If you are not a member, consider becoming one. Also, if you think that we need more positivity, especially when it comes to international relations, and also when it comes to people-to-people exchange, that we have too many people who are doomsdayers or saying the world is ending and every economy is coming to an end and conflict is around the corner, give this video a like or leave a comment below. Maybe tell me something good that happened in your life recently, because I think positivity is ultimately how we get past the conflicts, how we get to the better days, is if we focus on those. So leave a comment, let me know something good that happened in your life recently, and if you like this type of video, be sure to like it, because then it lets me know that you guys are interested in maybe more positive content, or at least looking at geopolitics from a more positive light, instead of just always being like the end is near and China's about to be invaded and the CIA is bad. But if you do, give it a like, and I will see you guys in the next video.